1, 2. 1, 2. How's it going? Can you hear me? Mic check. Can you hear me at all? Am I too loud or am I too... Can you hear anything? Can you hear me? No, Francis didn't get done by the guards on Gardaí Síochána. No, there was no done-ins there because, well, he just switched the camera off and it was a controlled environment. But he definitely got stream sniped. Look, just going to read a bit of stuff here. Been on a bit of a 9/11 buzz for... well, probably since the day it fucking happened, but I mean, on and off, and then you go through phases. An essay or something on this. I got a hold of Martin Amos's The Second Plane. A compendium of different short stories and essays and reviews, things like that. Bad day for the insurance. Mark, what you mean? Oh, 9/11, yeah, terrible. COVID-11, bit late but sure midsummer in the weekend. Yeah, look, I don't care anymore. Time is elastic for me at this stage of the game. How's it going? I'm glad that you can hear me. Yeah, I was going to say hopefully it's not too late, but it is late. I don't really care. I hope you're getting on okay. It's a wild world out there. Time is a laxative. What's up, way the camera? Keelan Lennon. What's up, way the camera? You on about the shutter speed? It's just the way it is, bud. That's just the way it is. Is everything all right at home, Francis? Geek Speak Show. I don't know. You're going to have to ask Francis whether or not everything's okay at home for him. As regards to myself, fucking grand, yeah. It's a late one, but I usually like to read to get to sleep, so I thought maybe I'll just share the fucking reading with yourself. Get off the coke, Conor says, wellity well. Well, the fridge has a few cans, 330ml. I wouldn't be drinking them this evening, but I will be drinking a couple of little pale ales and glass of water. It's a tragedy. I can only comment once every 60 seconds. Is there really anything you need to say in more than one soundbite every minute? I don't know. I'm just glad that you've tuned in. Read Ulysses. I thought about it, Robbie, but I mean, it's going to take 26 hours to read Ulysses. RTE were doing it the other day, I believe. I didn't hear it. Bloomsday, was it yesterday or something? Who cares anyway? Thanks for tuning in. No erotic novellas, Carl, no. As I said, I'm on a 9/11 buzz and just going to read a couple of 9/11 Buzzkey books or chapters or essays, whatever way you want to skin that apple. To borrow a phrase from the great goose god himself, who owns the channel, even though calling him a god is a bit much. more of the anti-God, the devil. The devil in the deep blue sea. In fact, was the devil the anti-Jesus? Or was devil the anti-God? Is Jesus God? Still a lot of unanswered questions. Phil Eglinton, thank you very much. And Yurti Ahern and Big Brendan, thank you. Martin Amos, the second plane, September the 11th. It was the advent of the second plane sharking in low over the Statue of Liberty that was the defining moment. Until then, America thought she was witnessing nothing more serious than the worst aviation disaster in history. Now she had a sense of the fantastic vehemence raged against her. I've never seen a generically familiar object so transformed by affect. That second plane looked eagerly alive and galvanized with malice and wholly alien. For those thousands in the South Tower, the second plane meant the end of everything. For us, its glint was the world flash of a coming future. Terrorism is political communication by other means. The message of September the 11th ran as follows. America, it's time you learned how implacably hated you are. United Airlines Flight 175 was an intercontinental ballistic missile launched in Afghanistan and aimed at our innocence. That innocence, it was here being claimed, was luxurious and anachronistic delusion. The week after the attack, one is free to taste the bile of its atrocious ingenuity. It is already trite but stringently necessary to emphasize that such a mise-en-scène would have embarrassed a studio executive's storyboard or a thriller writer's notebook. And yet in broad daylight and full consciousness, that outline became established reality. A score or so of Stanley knives produced 2 million tons of rubble. Several lines of US policy were bankrupted by the events of last Tuesday. This was written a week after the event. Among them, national missile defense. Someone realized that the skies of America were already teeming with missiles, each of them primed and cocked. The plan was to capture 4 airliners in the space of half an hour. All 4 would be bound for the West Coast to ensure maximum fuel load. The first would crash into the North Tower just as the working day hit full stride. Then a pause of 15 minutes to give the world time to gather around its TV set. With that attention secured, the second plane would crash into the South Tower. And in that instant, America's youth would turn into age. If the architect of this destruction was Osama bin Laden, who is a qualified engineer, then he would certainly know something about the stress equations of the World Trade Center. He would also know something about the effects of ignited fuel. At 500 degrees Celsius, a third of the temperature actually attained, steel loses 90% of its strength. He must have anticipated, that one or both of the towers would collapse. We know now that he actually didn't. He said that afterwards, but no visionary cinematic genius could hope to recreate the majestic abjection of that double surrender. With the scale of the buildings conferring its own slow motion, it was well understood that an edifice so demonstrably compromised of concrete and steel would also become an unforgettable metaphor. This moment was the apotheosis of the postmodern era, the era of images and perceptions. Wind conditions were also favourable. Within hours, Manhattan looked as though it had taken 10 megatons. Meanwhile, a third plane would crash into the Pentagon, and a fourth would crash into Camp David, the site of the Arab-Israeli Accord, the first Arab-Israeli Accord. Or possibly into the White House, though definitely not into Air Force One. This rumour was designed to excuse Bush's meanderings on the day. The fourth plane crashed, upside down, not into a landmark, but into the Pennsylvanian countryside, after what seems to have been heroic resistance from the passengers. The fate of the fourth plane would normally have been one of the stories of the year, but not this year. The fact that for the first few days one struggled to find more than a mention of it gives some idea of the size of American defeat. One sec, I just want to check the stream's going okay. And the levels, John. Yeah, it seems to be okay. It's crashed, says Yuri. Does that mean the fucking stream's crashed, or are you saying the plane has? Okay, question mark in chat. Going great, lad. Well, is he well? Thanks very much, bud, for the little fucking heads up. Thank you very much. And Donald Murray, George Bush, Robbie Brothers, Big Brendan. Just need to thank you guys for your little tip scenes. An ARB TWI, thank you very much. Might just open that pale ale. It's not a pale ale, I beg your pardon. It's a fucking orange plunder from Lidl. Francis gave me the cans after he swung by to say, Conor, I'd like you to fucking continue streaming tonight. The Gardaí were about to fucking stream snipe me, he said. And in that nasally way he talks, and he just fucked off, threw this into my hand. Orange plunder. 6%. Thanks very much, lads. Cheers. Continuation of the reading of Martin Amos's The Second Plane, written a week after. September the 11th. My wife's sister had just taken her children to school and was standing on the corner of 5th Avenue and 11th Street at 8:58 a.m. On the 11th day of the 9th month of 2001, the duo millennial anniversary of Christianity. For a moment, she imagined herself to be on a runway at Kennedy Airport. She looked up to see the glistening underbelly of the 767, a matter of yards above her head. Another witness described plane number 1 as driving down 5th Avenue at 400 miles per hour. There is a modest arch that fronts Washington Square Park. American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston to LA was flying so low that it had to climb to clear it. Don't know about that, actually. I have seen that arch, and I don't believe it's that high. If you think about it, the second plane, are we on about the second plane or the first? It actually would have been low enough, but I'm not sure about clearing that arch. Look, take it up with Amos if you got a problem. We have all watched airplanes approach, or seem to approach, a large building. We tense ourselves as the supposed impact nears, even though we are sure that this is a parallax illusion and that the plane will cruise grandly on. My sister-in-law was right behind Flight 11. She urged it to swerve, to turn into the plentiful blue sky. But the plane did not turn. That afternoon, her children would be bringing refreshments to the block-long queue, waiting to give blood at St. Vincent's. Now the second aircraft. And the terror revealed. The terror doubled or squared. We speak of plane rage, but it was the plane itself that was in a frenzy, one felt, as it gunned and steadied, then smeared itself into the South Tower. Even the flames and smoke were opulently evil with their vampiric reds and blacks. Murder-suicide from without, what was duplicated within to provide what was perhaps the day's most desolating spectacle. They flailed and kicked as they came down, as if you could fend off that abysmal drop. You too would flail and kick. You could no more help yourself than you could stop your teeth from chattering at a certain intensity of cold. It's a reflex. It's what human beings do when they fall. The Pentagon is a symbol, and the World Trade Center is or was a symbol. And an American passenger jet is also a symbol of indigenous mobility and zest. I thought I was going to say zeal and zest, and of the galaxy of glittering destinations. Incredible imagery. The bringers of Tuesday's terror were morally barbaric, inexplicably so, but they brought demented sophistication to their work. Let me just check the sound. Everything okay there? Can you still hear me? Just say yes in the chat if you can. If you can't, just say no. But thanks very much for tuning in anyway. I hope you're getting on well. Thanks very much to Pierce, Will and Brianna. Tell me this. And Literary Williams, if you're kind-hearted tips. Sounds good. Max, thanks very much. Blue Sky, thanks. Jamie, thanks. Buzzbud, thank you very much. Comma, Kevin, Wellity, Krusty, Neil. Just reread that last bit there. A galaxy of glittering destinations. The bringers of Tuesday's terror were morally barbaric, inexplicably so. But they brought a demented sophistication to their work. They really did. You can really see where the conspiracy theory is so credible. In one way, it's kind of ridiculous to assume that these guys did this with the fucking box cutters and everything. But I mean, the day it happened, there was so many people saying that fucking the security in airports for internal flights is so lax. I mean, that's obviously something the conspiracy theorists will say is just a line that was peddled out by the fucking crisis actors and so forth, so what. But anyway, let's just keep going. Demented sophistication to the work. They took these great American artifacts, the passenger aircraft, and pestled them together. Nor is it at all helpful to describe the attacks as cowardly. Terror always has its roots in hysteria and psychotic insecurity. Still, we should know our enemy. The firefighters were not afraid to die for an idea. That's true. You may have had the suiciders in the planes fucking crashing, killing all the innocents, but I mean, there was an idea in the ideal in the rescue mission as well. Did they even fucking know the buildings were going to come down? I don't know. The Nardot brothers, whose footage of the day captured whilst stationed with a fire company in the lower Manhattan area, has become the stuff of legend. They even made a film about it with Robert De Niro doing the intro. But a complete uncut version of one of the Now Dow or Now Day brothers, can't remember how you fucking pronounce the name, is available on YouTube with a big watermark over it, and you can watch from start to finish the footage from the moment the first plane crashed in the building to the moment they're stationed with the fucking fire chief inside the World Trade Center. They have to get the fuck out as it starts coming down. Incredible footage. What I wouldn't give for a HD copy, HD sound as well, or even an upscaled rejigged version of that footage. But anyway, let's go. The suicide killers belong in a different psychic category, and their battle effectiveness has, or on our side, no equivalent. Clearly, they have contempt for life. Equally clearly, they have contempt for death. Their aim was to torture tens of thousands and to terrify hundreds of millions. In this, they have succeeded. The temperature of planetary fear has been lifted towards the feverish. The world hum, in Don DeLillo's phrase, is now as audible as tinnitus. And yet, the most durable legacy has to do with the more distant future and the disappearance of an illusion about our loved ones, particularly our children. American parents will feel this most acutely, but we will also feel it. The illusion is this: mothers and fathers need to feel that they can protect their children. They can't, of course, and never could. But they need to feel that they can. What once seemed more or less impossible, their protection now seems obviously and palpably inconceivable. From now, we'll have to get by without that need to feel. Last Tuesday's date may not prove epical, and it should be the immediate task of the present administration to prevent it from becoming so. Bear in mind the attack could have been infinitely worse. On September the 11th, experts from the Centers for Disease Control rushed to the scene to test its atmosphere for biological and chemical weapons. They knew that these were a possibility, and they will remain a possibility. There is also the integrally insoluble hazard. Insane alliteration and wordplay here. There is also the integrally insoluble hazard of America's inactive nuclear power stations. No nuclear power station has ever been dismantled anywhere. That's a frightening fact. Equivalent assaults on such targets could reduce enormous tracts of the country to plutonium graveyards for tens of thousands of years. Interesting enough, because apparently Khalid Sheikh Mohammed did fucking want to maybe do that, like go into one of the nuclear power plants in America. But they chose the buildings as symbolic. I don't know. You really don't know what had the more lasting, visceral effect. Nuclear would have been a fucking nightmare, John. But it didn't provide the fucking cinematic Hollywood show bang, which they got. A double fuck you in ways, not only in deplorable terroristic aplomb, but also a fucking fuck you to the hegemonic American grasp on, movies, media, the camera, Hollywood. One of the conceptual tasks to which Bush and his advisors will not be equal is that Tuesday terror, for all its studious viciousness, was a mere adumbration. Never heard of that word before. Not even going to look it up in the dictionary. We are still in the first circle. We're still in the first circle, guys, according to Martin Amis in 2001, a week after 9/11. It will also be horribly difficult and painful for Americans to absorb the fact that they are hated, and hated intelligibly. I don't know about that, but I mean, yeah, fuck, who knows? How deep does that go? It's not just an American thing, it's probably a Western thing as well. I was saying this to J-Ro the other day during our book club. We were reading, what was it again? Jack and Jill. And he was going on about how Jack and Jill, when they're falling down the hill to fetch the pail of water, what did that really mean? And I said, J-Ro, don't bother thinking about it, man. There's just too much in it for you. You might malfunction. You might malfunction, and then the fucking skybase will crash. And then it's crashed. Okay, it's still going. You can still hear me. I hope. The dancing Israelis is a total urban myth, along with the dancing Arabs. I understand that, Nicholas, yeah. Someone was saying that there were lads dancing in New Jersey who were in mosque or something, but that's just. I think that was made up. I think that was Donald Trump maybe saying that on the day, I'm not sure. I do know Trump called into the Howard Stern show, which you can watch. We can hear you, grand. See our Garter Snake. Thanks so much for the mic check 1-2. Thanks very much, Literary Williams. Tell me this, Will and Brianna, and Donal Murray. Real question, Mr. Williams, if that is your real name. Where were you when 9/11 happened? I was in 5th year history, and the teacher brought us to watch the news. Gotta tell you something, Donal. That story, my 9/11 story is for another day. I'm really glad that you shared yours, and thanks very much for sharing that, and also the tip as well. But you're very lucky in that your history teacher, or whatever teacher, brought you down to fucking read the telly, watch the telly on the day. I can't imagine anything. Well, like I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you another day. But you were lucky to get the telly treatment. How many of the Americans know, for example, that their government has destroyed at least 5% of the Iraqi population? This is before the second Iraq war in 2003. This is the week after September the 11th. So that's pretty mad, isn't it? How many of them know? How many Americans know, for example, their government has destroyed at least 5% of the Iraqi population? You're fucking serious. How many of them then transfer that figure to America and come up with 14 million if you're trading like for like? Various national characteristics, self-reliance, a fiercer patriotism than any in Western Europe, and an assiduous geographical incuriosity have created a deficit of empathy for the sufferings of people far away. Well, he's talking about that. I know that there's people out there, there's a lot of protests in America, and a lot of people protest against the war, so. But actually, I can't remember. I remember in the UK, biggest amount of people turned up to protest in 2003 against the fucking invasion of Iraq. I don't know if there were such protests in the States. Definitely Black Lives Matter is a bigger thing. If you look at the trade for trade of what's going on in the world today, Black Lives Matter is definitely a bigger protest, en masse, than that of protesting against the US-led invasion. But can you blame America? Wrapped only 2 years after the fucking biggest terroristic event ever. Biggest fucking attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor. After the fucking week they had. Most crucially, and again most painfully, being right and being good support the American self to an almost tautologist degree. Americans are good and right by virtue of being American. Saul Bellow's word for this habit is angelization. On the US-led side, then, we need not Okay, sorry about that. This is going to be a big ask, but does anyone remember what the last fucking few words or a sentence was? Could you actually tell me how long? That's better. How long I was Michaelis in Seattle. Thank you. Great stuff. Ain't Ronan. Fucking ear hawk. Ears like a hawk on you, Ronan. Angelization. Saul Bellow. Thanks so much. Great stuff. Not long. Brilliant. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying put. Sorry about the tech grams. Onwards and upwards. What happened to the video where you go to the Brussels and say, Jurgen Klopp, what's the story? Don't know, we just took it down probably. Jay Goldie, thanks very much. Thanks for watching though. Thanks for watching, Jay. Jay Goldie. Look, don't know what happened to that Brussels vid. Look, my name's Connor Williams, Jay Goldie. Thanks for watching. You'd want to ask Francis Higgins, who owns the channel. I'm just a late night pale ale pounder with a book in his hand, fucking glint in his eye, and a few words to spare. Thanks very much for asking, and thanks for tuning in. Have you met Schlug Keelan Lennon? Never met him. Never met the guy, but he looks like a nice guy. He looks like a sound man. Bit of a different vibe to me. Thanks for tuning in. Saul Bellow's word for this habit, the habit of Americans, are good, and the Americans feeling good and right by virtue of being American. Saul Bellow, the fucking author of the great American novel. I think he won a Nobel Prize. I'm not sure. Haven't read any of his literature, but Amos fucking loves him. The Adventures of Augie March and fucking... I can't remember, Herzog's Diary or something, I don't know. Saul Bellow, anyway. Saul Bellow's word for the habit was angelization. Angelization. On the US-led side, then we need not only a revolution in consciousness, but an adaptation of national character. The work, perhaps, of a generation. So he's going on about the Americans there and how they... I don't know, he's very fucking... He's on a pedestal anyway, talking as if he knows what the Americans have to do. He's a Brit. He lives in America, but I mean, he's not an American. He's a Brit, and he's got a great way with words, but he's not an American, so I don't know how Americans take Amos on America. Do they take to him as much? Definitely not as much as they loved Hitchens. The Hitch. On the American side, there's that. They say, anyway, he's saying that they have to come a revolution in consciousness is what's necessary to be able to adapt. On the other side, the Islamist, I must say, and get that right as well, not Islamic or Muslim, but Islamist side. He says, weirdly, the world suddenly feels bipolar. All over against the West confronts an irrationalist, agonistic, theocratic, idiocratic system which is essentially and unappeasably, opposed to its existence. The old enemy was a superpower. The new enemy isn't even a state. In the end, the USSR was broken by its own contradictions and abnormalities, forced to realize, in Martin Malia's words, that there is no such thing as socialism, and the Soviet Union built it. Then too, socialism was a modernist, indeed a futurist experiment, whereas militant fundamentalism is convulsed in a late medieval phase of its evolution. We would have to sit through a Renaissance and a Reformation and then await an Enlightenment. And we're not going to do that, John. It doesn't say John there. What are we going to do? Violence must come. So this is a week after 9/11, and already he's saying violence has to happen, John. We have the right wing coming out and making its presence felt. But that was the paradox. Like the violence, it felt like as if everyone was in America's was on America's side, going, you need to fucking sort it out, lads, and make them pay. But as I always thought, I remember, you see Bush on the fucking rubble the day after while they were saying, the guys who did this, soon they're going to hear all that business, we're going to get them. I was just thinking to myself, fucking Bush. The guys that did this are fucking dead. You're not going to get them. You're going to just have to fucking level a bollocking. And they fucking leveled a bollocking. It's like the initial fucking bollocking that was leveled was just like fucking, just strike anywhere to fuck. But it wasn't enough. And then of course Iraq 2003. Strange, it was a strange fucking war, like a strange reprisal and what have you. Violence must come. America must have catharsis. That's right, catharsis. You wanted it to be a cathartic fucking situation where they'd managed to fucking level up and more. We just didn't know how it was going to be. We would hope that the response will be, above all, non-escalatory. It should also mirror the original attack in that it should have the capacity to astonish. Holy shit. Just as a line in itself, and then 2 years later having, was Rumsfeld, Secretary of Defense, saying it's going to be a shock and awe. Don't know if that was his words or the words of the US, one of the generals, but shock and awe. I'll stop digressing and throwing in my own bullshit and just keep reading. Thanks for watching. After the Bush 2001, a quote from Donald Bush, a quote from George Bush 2001. After the week I've had, I've done that twice now, so it's losing its fucking, its hit, its clap back effect. Okay, it should also mirror the original attack in that it should have the capacity to astonish. A utopian example: the crippled and benighted people of Afghanistan, hunkering down for a winter of famine, should not be bombarded with cruise missiles. They should be bombarded with consignments of food, firmly marked Lend-Lease, USA. So Amos is saying, fuck the bombs off, give them the aid, make them fucking pay. Make them fucking pay in cash, John, later with the lease. Lendlease.ie. George Bush was on Lendlease.ie. More realistically, unless Pakistan can actually deliver bin Laden, the American retaliation is almost sure to become elephantine. Then terror from above will replenish the source of all terror from below. Unhealed wounds. This is the familiar cycle so well caught by the Matter and the title of V.S. Naipaul's story, Tell Me Who to Kill. Never read V.S. Naipaul, but he's a pretty accomplished writer, travel writer, I believe. V.S. Naipaul's story, Tell Me Who to Kill. Our best destiny. as planetary cohabitants is the development of what has been called species consciousness, something over and above nationalisms, blocks, religions, ethnicities, John. During this week of incredulous misery, I've been trying to apply such a consciousness and such a sensibility. Thinking of the victims, the perpetrators, and the near future, I felt species grief. Then species shame. Then species fear. September the 18th, 2001. The Guardian. 9/11 late. You do well to get a hold of it, John. That was the reading anyway for this evening. I hope that it was okay. Sorry about the microphone going off. Dartry Warriors, how are you, bud? Shout out to CJ and Kush. CJ and Kush, thanks very much for tuning in. I hope you're getting on well. As a post read, because it kind of feels a bit strange to just tune out like that. It's interesting how on the mark he was regarding the retaliatory response by the US only a week after, but I remember seeing 102 Minutes that changed America. A compilation of all the found footage and recorded footage from people's handycams on the day. The people saying, as it's happening down on the street, you know, we need to go into the fucking Middle East and do all this shit. Like, everyone just knew before there was any confirmation of Al-Qaeda, while the fucking situation was still going on, and people still thought it was a lot of people thought it was a mistake, but there were people right then who just knew when it happened. Donald Cush II, the neck of that John. Yeah, the call for violence, the call for violence that had to mirror the effect of the attacks on New York of 9/11 was kind of poignant in the sense that the US-led invasion in 2003, the initial couple of days, the bombing of Baghdad, was labelled as a shock and awe display. And indeed, 10 years had gone since the previous war, 10, 12, 13, I beg your pardon, the previous Gulf War. A lot of new military equipment was ready to be tested, untested, tried and untested. And don't for a minute forget that war games are all well and good in a controlled arena, but I mean, what we had here, what we saw with Iraq was a chance, at least, for America to really test out in a live situation its war game strat in a way that, has Russia done that? In Syria, Russia are doing that, or were doing that. Don't know if they're still doing it. Proxy wars. Reminds me of a video game that Arhar, my son, was playing there a few years back. Metal Gear Solid 4. For the PlayStation 3. And the protagonist, can't remember his name, Jonathan Snake or something. Simon the Snake. He was a mercenary who, was drafted into many proxy wars. They're called proxy wars. These are the superpower superpowers that be getting involved in different conflicts around the world. Secret wars. As well as wars that are not so secret. Just a quick look at the chat. Direct unit control, soft hogs. How are you getting on, bud? Exactly. You've seen the amount of fucking war games. I'm not talking about next gen console, current day fucking PC build bullshit, where you can really fucking feel like you're in the Call of Duty Warzone kind of stuff, where you're controlling fucking drones and things like that. Even shit mobile games, which are incessantly marketed towards me every time I want to watch a fucking YouTube video or scroll through some fucking website. It's war games from the ground up. From the ground up. Is it really that bad? It's hard to really fucking tell. It's all just a game, isn't it? But are they preparing us for something different, something deeper? Remember that fucking shit film, Toys, with Robin Williams? A real blunderguff. But I remember seeing it back in the day, and there was a lot of that kind of vibe in it as well. The military wanting to indoctrinate the kids of tomorrow, the kids of today, the adults of tomorrow, with war video games and such. Holy shit. There was a colorized photo of the lads on the Normandy landings, Omaha Beach and Saving Private Ryan stuff, but the actual photograph of the lads in those fucking boats that were landing, they look fucking a day over fucking 16, 17, some of them. I know it wasn't as bad as the First World War in terms of recruiting underage soldiers and conscripts, but I mean, they're just fucking kids like who are going into the war zone, and they're sitting ducks. So it's the youngsters, it's the poor and it's the young who are conscripted. They're going straight in and they're getting fucking chewed up. But they don't know that until it happens, and neither do the population of in 2003's case, the States, getting annoyed that the soldiers were coming back with limbs missing and all that. And you do the same for fucking Vietnam. Once it's on your doorstep, then you know how fucking bad and visceral it is. With World War II and whatnot, a just war, I suppose. Not a lot of consternation directed towards the government for sending troops over, but there was a hell of a lot for the Iraq War. Hell of a lot for that. Crazy world. I don't know if it's still going, but anyway, I'm gonna have to fucking end it. Have a look. iPhone is fucking updating. It's updating. In the middle of a fucking stream. Can't believe this. Cannot believe this. Right, I'm gonna have to say goodnight and God bless. After the week I've had, And now this. First Donald Bush, and now this. Do you know what? I'm gonna keep fucking talking away, even though I know I can't fucking realise or be sure that I'm still streaming. I'm gonna keep going, because I've got an indication that it's still streaming. And I'm looking down at the microphone. I can see it's still switched on. For any of you who don't know, a lot of the streams, in fact all the streams, I know I said a lot, all of the streams are a 3G tethered connection off the fucking iPhone, which has decided to run an update right in the middle of the stream. And I don't know whether or not I'm still online. Donald Bush. Donald Bush, Joe. Bear with me a moment. Look at that. Did you fucking believe that? Would you fucking believe that? But how, Connor, is it so that you're still streaming if you're tethering and the phone's updating? Because I'm fucking tethering off a second fucking 3G SIM card. The broadband is shit out here. The holiday home, still in the holiday home. I know I did a live stream the other night from the Killiney fucking swank pad. But I decided to get away and read a few books out here. I'll be back in a moment. The problem, it's pretty annoying that I can stream off a second SIM. Stream the reading off the second SIM, but I need the fucking first SIM to be able to read the comments and read what you're saying. This is a very big shot in the dark for myself, where I'm just standing talking, not knowing whether or not you're fucking watching. But I've done that before. Did that yesterday. Or at least I know Francis did for 15 or 20 minutes. And now we've got this. Now we've got another screen again, where it just says loading. You'd have to wonder what the iOS update is for the iPhone. What kind of magic are they bringing to the iPhone now? I can't wait. I'm sure fucking Steve Jobs is up there looking down on us going, God, I wish I was there for that fucking update, where we added a few fucking new emojis to the situation. iPhone now allows you to fucking take 5 photographs at the same time of different things. John. I was interested to see or read the comments regarding the text. Not so much so that at this time of the night you'd be wondering who's watching, and indeed if people are watching, it's probably not going to be people in the time zone I'm reading it at. It's probably going to be the people who are still awake. Americans. And what they thought of what your man said. It's not amazing. It's not a fucking amazing read, but it was just something that I thought that you could do in 10 or 20 minutes and get it done. We're nearly there. It's loading up. Okay, we've lost the fucking progression bar. Yes! Here we go. I can get to see if anyone's still watching. It's still live. Brilliant. Fantastic. Unbelievable. Great stuff. Thanks very much for sticking with us. Yeah, the iPhone is updated. Yeah, get in, Steve Jobs. Come on. Thanks again. Watch out for gangs roaming the streets in RAV4s. I heard a lot of trouble with these lads recently. Yeah, I was tuned in to Francis's stream earlier on. That RAV4 was ominous, to say the least. But thankfully, it was a fella driving and he had his girlfriend or woman or who knows in the car as well. Interestingly enough, Francis, who so generously donated the beer to me, which is providing the fuel for the stream right now, said that when the stream was shut down and he all was said and done, that there were more people. There weren't just the RAV4s, there was other fucking people who just turned up. They were going, Viper, what's the story? Amazing. Technology. And the amount of time that it takes people to realise what's going on and go on. Everything is just fucking super fast. And I'm reading a story that was written in 2001, a week after September the 11th. And even then, we probably wouldn't even have fathomed how fast communication would have got. I mean, we understood chat rooms and instant messaging, that kind of shite. But it took Zuckerberg and fucking YouTube, and indeed mass access to fast bandwidth, fat pipes. It took all that shit to reach a level of instantaneousness with which you actually saw Francis having to wrap up shit earlier on. Chocolate pancake RAV5s. I don't know if there's a RAV5, if it exists. Who knows? Is John working with Steve Jobs? Probably, yeah. Up in heaven. Demographically, Baron Trump might be on Fortnite and I could stumble onto a direct line. Demographically. Baron Trump. What if Baron Trump is playing Fortnite and fucking just going, yeah man, my dad's Donald Trump. I'm after waiting for a cow to calve. This is helping through the delivery conzo. What did you think of the text? This looks like the male jacks out in Clineen. Something going on with Baron Trump and Fortnite that I don't know about. What about Flubber? I think we're gonna get a few fucking snacks and drinks and watch Flubber tomorrow night. Have you tried what using virtual cam? An Android or NDI tools on iPhone can stream on Wi-Fi straight to OBS. Talk to me if you'd like about it, says Tobes. Haven't tried that, but I might fucking check it out. What happens in Francis's streams as Dirt Hunter Gang? What do you mean? Unless you meant what happened. He had to fucking stop streaming because the Gardaí, on Gardaí, were making their presence felt. Apologies here, I'm just fucking staring at a screen like. I enjoyed reading. I'd read more if I fucking had another can maybe, but I don't. It was a test anyway. A test of will, a test of strength, a test of honor. Thanks for watching. Blue Sky, Bum Horse, Dartry Warriors, thanks. Sandra Joyce and Tori Top Crew. Great stuff. Yeah, I wish I had more booze, but I don't. What can you do? It's late enough anyway. It was a nice little read. I enjoyed it. I'll see you later. Sleep well. We'll see you on the next. God bless. See you later, yeah. Francis is on the hero's journey to shine a light on the unanswered questions we don't know. He asked, did the cops shut it down? No, wait, Dirt Hunter Gang, no. They didn't shut it down, but it was a premeditated shutdown. But by that stage, by the time it was being shut down, this is for Francis now, not me, other people were gathering to look and jeer and become a part of the festivities. See you later on anyway. Thanks very much for watching and thanks for tipping as well. Before I go, I just want to say, Sean Casey, Flubberwave 2, Guard Stream Lock. Sounds like an amazing text. Flubberwave 2. Be great to fucking read that. Where was Francis at the time? I'm doing a lot of extra work here at Dirt Hunter Gang by sticking around but answering the question. An unknown location, undisclosed location, car park, if you will. Okay, sorry about that. Just went to the fridge to check to see if there was another pale ale. There isn't one. There isn't one. We'll see you later on, and good night and God bless. And thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. All the best. Get on to Zurich as well. Okay? As I said to someone yesterday, we're expecting you. We're expecting you. Twerk. Thank you very much. Good night and God bless. We'll see you later. Connor.